I know you feel it when it's one million, 2 million, 3 million, 4, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, 100.
What up, Panther Nation? It is your boy, the freaking Puerto Rican, Joey Riolano in the house. Tonight's episode of Cat Chronicles is action-packed. We got a lot of material to cover, and we got a Panthers Twitter and NFC South battle veteran superstar in the house, PantherNasty, also known as Vegas 226. Say hello.
What's up, Panther Nation? How you doing? Let's get it.
And my co-host, as usual, and my partner in crime sometimes, back when we were young anyway.
Yeah, that's right. It's the professor. Touchdown Tony Dunn here tonight, talking so much for CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We're glad to have Willie P, one of our he is our second oldest friend on the show tonight. Only second to what is it? It's Steve Danner, right? So thanks a ton for coming on, Willie.
No doubt, man. Yes, my man Steve, man. Steve is my boy, Steve Dana, but no doubt.
Yeah. Before we look, guys, today has been insane in Panther Nation and C3 Video Podcast. We are the quickest on it, the hottest on it right now, because we were going to talk Camp Cuts, but today I watched Twitter Court TV all day long and followed the Greg Hardy story, so we would be remiss if we didn't talk about that just for a moment. And it's kind of cool, and it's kind of strange in some ways that I watched a court case via Twitter. So we're going to talk that tonight. Tonight we're also going to talk about training camp, which we're all ready to go. Joey, myself, I'm going twice. I've been excited about this. I've been intensely breaking down the roster, and what we want to do is talk about, look, it's going to be nasty, folks. There's going to be a lot of tough decisions made, and so we want to talk about those decisions tonight and give some insight, because I think a lot of it is not clear, but we can understand it though. So we'll talk about that. But before we get started, I do want to give a couple of shout outs to some of our friends that got some good stuff going on right now. Big Q, Team Boy TV Live from Team Boy TV Turbo. So it's at Team Boy TV Turbo. And their show starts tomorrow night. It's the second episode, 7:35, Team Boy TV Live, and they're going to be talking AFC South. They kind of mixed me up. That's why I'm looking at my note card. They talked about NFC East last week, so I was like, they're going to talk AFC East. Nope, I looked it up today just to double check. AFC South, they're going to be bringing that. So that's going to be great. They've been doing some fun stuff. Glass, they had some big talks last night. Crazy. I was bashing them about saying T.O. was better than Randy Moss. Can't buy that.
Oh, yeah, nah.
And also, yeah, see? All right. And then also, one last plug, not for the faint of heart, though, folks. The Voice, 2525, who is with PantherNasty and them boys in the TTC, he's going in some kind of competition that's called, with the Panther Fan Battle or something like that?
No, it's Battle of the Fans.
The Battle of the Fans. So
he's repping our beloved team.
Okay, so he's like in an NCAA bracket of fan chatter. But check out The Voice 2525 on YouTube, but I will warn you, it's not for the faint of heart. It is definitely, my man films his videos in his car, like away from everybody. He's like locked up.
He goes in. He loves his team.
He does. So check that out. But all right, let's go ahead and get started. Joey, all day long, what did you think? Greg Hardy on trial for assaults. What is it? Assaulting a female and communicating threats.
Right.
How did you feel about watching Twitter Court TV today?
Well, I felt going into it that Greg Hardy was in a good position. I mean, as good a position as you can be with these charges pending. Okay, I felt like he was going to make a strong case and things would be thrown out. Honestly, I thought Holder, the female, Mrs. Holder, or Miss Holder, would not show up. Lo and behold, she did. And as the case progressed, initially it looked like things were going poorly for Hardy. And then I believe there was a break. I really liked it. It was almost like play-by-play on Twitter.
It was. It was. I
was
created a list in Twitter today for just, and I've been meaning to do this. I finally created a list of like the Charlotte reporters: Joe Pearson, Jonathan
Steve
Jones,
Steve Reed.
yeah, and Newton, and also Black and Blue Review. And those dudes were in the courtroom just like, I felt like that. You know that little chick that sits up at the front with the little thing? That's what they all were. Every single one of them was just a tweeting away, and I was watching like it was like the O.J. Simpson trial, man.
Exactly.
It was insane.
It was. I don't know that there's, well, as far as I've known, there's never been so much coverage regarding a court case on Twitter, to my knowledge.
Right.
Well, we just haven't followed it. Probably, there's probably somewhere that they've been doing that for everything, but certainly not in Charlotte sports before.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Willie, you're all the way in California. How much did you see of it today on Twitter? Were you busy, or did you catch some of it?
I watched most of it. I was there because, like you said in the beginning, it looked like Holder wasn't going to show up. So I'm thinking, okay, cool, this thing's going to get thrown out. And then she came in, and it did go south. And it went south, and I'm thinking, wow, because initially I thought he's the one that called the cops, right? And you hear, okay, this should be a slam dunk. He should be off, right? And then, I'm a little disappointed, man, but I kept watching Joe Person and Steve Reed, and they was, like you said, man, they was in there tweeting their behinds off. I'm surprised they
it was. Yeah, I thought they were gonna be in contempt of court, like just from pounding the keys.
Right. They have carpal tunnel now in their thumbs.
It was what I thought though is not only didn't think she was gonna show up, because I thought that she. And I just follow. I don't know any of it really, other than what I just read on Twitter and the news. But I thought that she was starting to think that she bit the hand that fed her, and she was trying to chill out a little bit, and like, all right, I got all crazy a little bit, and now I'm trying to back down on this, and hopefully I can work, at least salvage a rent payment, like she said. So, I didn't. So when she showed up, but look, I was watching it. I felt like I was watching it pretty damn closely. I think my wife would say that. Like while she was cooking, I didn't help at all today. I just sat at the computer when I got home from work, and I didn't think it went bad for him. I thought that all the stuff was like circumstantial. I thought they like were showing pictures of some guns that like, all right, well, yeah, it's kind of weird that you have an arsenal on the bed, but it's not illegal. No. And really, the girl on drugs, he was too. Come on now. I mean, or somebody was. Maybe not, because he had to go to practice the next day, but they were partying. And he won't just like, oh, just do those lines over there like with Johnny Manziel, and I ain't going to worry about it. I mean, it was just... But I thought that you couldn't send anybody to jail on that. I thought they should have just said, you're both stupid.
Right. I agree.
And I felt like she just, like, went crazy. Now, and when I say crazy, I mean, I'm not saying things don't get out of hand, but I didn't think that it was, like, only his fault.
Yeah.
But only one person's going to jail. And so... I gotta say this, man. I'm gonna go ahead and ask you guys this: fact or fiction? Are white chicks crazy?
All chicks are crazy,
all
man.
All females, agreed.
That's right. They're all crazy, and all dudes are stupid.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm married.
But here,
I'm married to a Dominican right now.
Yeah. Look, they were. there was the very first question and let's take this to the Panthers real quick because I know people want to hear about that rather than just our take on Twitter and how it's crazy. Like I felt like I was sitting in the courtroom, but the very first question I saw tweeted about this because he took the stand. I was a little surprised about that. And he said, they asked him, are you going to play for the Carolina Panthers this season? And he said, yes, sir, hopefully. Willie, what do you think is going to happen to him?
I think he might get suspended the first 4 games, I think. Hopefully it's not more than that. He'll play for Carolina this year, but I don't see him being the Carolina Panther after this year. I really don't. Not after this. And not the way our roster's set up right now. I don't see it.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to be a Panther in 2015 before this.
I agree.
Unless we decided to part ways with Charles Johnson and hedge our bets with the Kraken. But this certainly does not help his. This was an expensive night of partying, or this was an expensive, wacky girlfriend to get mixed up with.
Mm-hmm.
And she was. They said she was sarcastic on the stand. So
right.
she is just a big pain in the ass. That's what I would say. But Joey, what do you think about this? Is he going to play for the Carolina Panthers this year? How bad is this?
Well, I think him being suspended 4 games is a definite possibility. But let's remember that they are appealing this decision. Yes, he was found guilty in this court, but they're appealing it, and they would like a jury trial, which could completely change things. I don't know when they're going to have it, and I don't know how long those take. But if it's not until after the season, I wonder if Goodell is going to allow him his day in court to be judged by a jury of his peers as opposed to one person's opinion.
Right.
So it's possible that he may put off suspending him until after the appeal. And if he does that, then he could be here for the first. He may play the whole year, depending on when they schedule the next court case.
Yeah. You know what? Good point. Yeah, you're right about that.
So I'm hoping that's the way it goes. Now, there's no guarantee that it will for sure, but I'm hoping that's the way that it goes for the team's sake. Because he is a big part of our defense. There's no doubt about it.
Looking at the whole situation, I felt like they would try to make a move to keep both guys. You look at the Giants, when they lost their pass rush, they lost everything.
Yeah.
And we are basically that same kind of team minus offensively.
Right.
Not too many defensive ends is getting paid $76 million, $60 million a year like CJ is getting paid right now. I figure they both got the same agent. I figure you work on CJ contract first, make it reasonable. With the cap going up 12 to 15 million next year in 2015, of course you got to pay Cam. You better pay Cam.
That's right.
You start making moves to keep both. You can lose running backs. You don't want to lose pass rush.
No way.
That's the strength and that's the backbone of our team. Greg Hart is too young of a talent. But after this situation, we'll see. Well, I think this definitely hurt his chances, though.
I have to agree. And here's something to consider as well. If they don't suspend him until the first part of next year, okay, let's say that he plays all this season and then the court dates in the off season, and then he's found guilty and they suspend him. Now, is a team going to want to pay him big money if they know he's going to miss 4 games or let's say 6 games? Will that help the Panthers kind of be able to keep him because it'll make him more affordable? Because if he's going to get the same amount of money here or there, wouldn't he just stay where he's at?
I think so. I think he definitely wants to be here. That's not even. He definitely wants to be here.
Right.
He's not, if that's the case, I really feel like you could probably right now. Charles Johnson's getting paid $16 million.
Right.
It should be more around like 9 to 10.
I agree.
I think if we get both those guys in here around 9 to 10 million each, I think that's a win-win for us. I know we still got Frank Alexander. We have Coney Lee. We're probably going to say forget one of those guys. But I feel like the strength of our team is that pass rush, and the strength of our team is that rotation.
Right, and don't forget about Mario Addison, who came on. He came on and played pretty good last year. Right.
Joey.
Yeah. Yes, Charlie.
Keep going for a second. My computer locked up, so just carry on.
Okay. Yeah. We got it. So I think that is the strength of our defense, and you got to keep your strengths strong. You know what I mean?
We see it with the Giants. You know what happened? You win the Super Bowl, and then boom,
right?
They lost their pass rush, and everything went with it.
Right. Strahan retired.
Right. You know, Tuck didn't play the way he's been playing in the past. And
same thing with OC. He left free agency.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, we paying way too much money to running backs. Way too much money to running backs. And you know, I love Double Trouble. I love them to death. I'll never forget the joy they brought us. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think it's that time, man. I know we can't cut Jonathan Stewart this year, but I think that's the direction we need to go in. Keep your defensive ends.
Right. And lose running backs. Right. Sacrifice the running backs because they're much more easily replaceable. You know, especially when you're running them by committee. You know, we don't have an Adrian Peterson who's going to get all the carries.
Right. And honestly, I think if you could make, I'm going to save this part for later on in the show. But I feel like that's the direction we need to go in. Don't cut the defensive ends. I mean, I don't know how they're going to feel about this Greg Hardy thing.
Right.
Carolina, ever since the Ray Caruth thing, we don't play them kind of game.
You're right.
But, you know, it's a different situation. I'm not comparing it to the Ray Caruth thing. No disrespect to the families.
Yeah, totally different. You're right.
And everything, but, you know, me personally, I think as a team, I think our best option would be to somehow try to save.
Right. Totally agree with you. Tony, you back on?
I am back. Back in full effect. Sorry.
It's all right. Technical glitches happen. We were carrying on without you.
Nice.
We're glad you're back, though. We were just talking about the possibility of Greg Hardy not being suspended this year because they put the trial at the, in the off season. And if they put the trial in the off season and he's found guilty and he's going to serve a 4 or 6 game suspension at the beginning of 2015, do you think that's going to turn off possible suitors for Greg Hardy and maybe make the chances of him staying in Carolina greater? Because if it boils down to, do I want to play in, let's say, Carolina, or do I want to play in, let's say, just Dallas for the same amount of money, where am I going to go? Carolina's got this great team that we've already built. We got a chance to win Super Bowls, where, Dallas is kind of stuck at 8-8 for the past 10 years.
I certainly hope that's what happens for one specific reason, because I want to see what Dave Gettleman does. And I want to see if Dave Gettleman is such a money hawk that he would do that, or I want to see if the Carolina Panthers are just ready to part ways with him. And I could really see both in some ways. I mean, like Jerry Richardson has stepped back from the team a little bit. He's let Dave Gettleman have a very, it seems like, full control of roster decisions. And not that, I mean, I feel like Richardson had a little more influence on Marty Herney. So we would get to see, like, is Dave Gettleman only about the money and the roster, and like, or I just can't ever see. I think his days of Panther ended today with the word guilty. And
wow,
they said the guy on Bill Voth from Black and Blue Review said he used his name in the same sentence as Ray Caruth, and I heard you guys on the back end not comparing him, but he tried to say he was our second biggest problem since Ray Caruth, and it kind of sucks, man. I think that what this is, I want to go ahead and say something to Big Q. I'm going to address somebody that's watching right now. This is why I don't hate on Josh Gordon, because all these mugs are out there doing mess like this. So to act like one kid, I mean, he's just a little more unfortunate than the others. This is just as bad as anything else. But how many cats in the NFL are doing this tonight? Not like this same thing, but they ain't at home studying their playbook.
Right.
So,
Right.
One of the things though that stuck out to me, guys, is what the judge said, that no one in the court believed that he wasn't guilty or could not see his guilt. It was a crazy, and I can pull up the tweet. I'll pull it up in a second. But I didn't get that feeling through Twitter. So it was he had no chance here. He had no chance. I think this is, is this one of those charges that you're just going to be guilty of anytime someone calls the police? Like if you get an assault charge, you're just guilty because there was a fight.
You see, that is, I think there's a double standard here. I think the double standard applies because if he would have been a woman who would have called the police and, said, I'm being attacked or whatever the case may be, then it's another story. But he called the 911 saying, hey, look, I'm trying to get this lady out of my house, but she won't leave. And then they show up and she's acting all kind of, what am I going to say? She's tweaking a little bit, holding on tight to her purse because she knows she's got some coke in there or whatever may have been in there, allegedly.
The cops said she tried to run.
Right. And yet he's the one that gets arrested and goes to jail. There's a double standard there, brother. That is a double standard, is what I'm saying.
I just thought it was crazy. Is that like, basically all these kids are just partying hard and acting fools, and one guy paid like $9 million for that weekend.
Possibly.
So, I mean, in the end, he could have been one of the biggest if he would have hit free agency and he was like cleaned up and that he didn't get in any trouble. He had just crafted an image of the Kraken, which was popular. It was scary but lovable to children. He just had a children's camp. You know what I mean? He was on the come, and now my man is going to be hanging with us. We might be able to interview him on the Carolina Cat Chronicles podcast in a couple of years. So, all right. You guys got anything else you want to say about
I want to ask a question.
Harvey?
Was it a male or female judge?
I think it was a male, but I can't really tell you.
Okay. I didn't know if anyone knew.
We can't hear Willie.
Yeah, I know. Can you maybe text him and tell him to check his mic?
Yeah, just go ahead and drop out, and we'll call you back. Let's see if he can hear. So, Joey, do you feel grimy for watching this like that closely and like saying things about people on the internet?
No, not at all. Unfortunately, I feel more grimy about watching some of the reality TV shows I watched than what took place today.
Okay. I had a lot of stuff I kind of wanted to talk about. I was just so fascinated with the Greg Hardy guilty. I mean, it was decisive. Let's see. Is Willie back?
Yeah, you hear me now?
Yeah,
you're
good.
good.
Okay.
You're good.
What I wanted to say was, it's hard to make a 6'4", 290-pound man a victim, and I think that's where when he walked in that courtroom looking like a giant, I don't think everybody was like, wait a minute, I think that's what played against him.
That's a good point.
I think so. He looks kind of slim for being so big.
He looks kind of slim to us. When you walk in that courtroom with them regular people.
Oh yeah, he's a Mega Man coming in there, the Hulk.
Right, exactly.
And she was probably 5 foot nothing and weighed like 130 pounds or 120 pounds. But I think the fact that she was just clearly on drugs, and all the people were like, one dude, I like his manager. They asked him if he was trying to hook up with with her friend, and he was like, "Yes, sir." Were you trying to hook up with this girl tonight? He's like, "Yes, sir." And then they asked Greg Hardy. They broke up. They broke up at the Pro Bowl. Did you hear how my man broke up with her?
They changed their flight ticket from New York to Charlotte. Is that right?
Yeah. And then she was on the stand complaining about it. I would have said this, girl, make your own damn flight plans. If you say, I mean, like, good Lord. And so they asked him, they said, so you guys broke up, but you guys still hook up? He's like, and Greg Hardy said, like, something like, just, yes, sir. And the guy, so he said, so does this day and age mean that y'all still have sex? And he's like, yes, sir. It's just so stupid in some ways. But okay, I'm kind of through with the Greg Hardy thing.
There's a lot more to come. This is a liquid situation. There's a lot more to come. You know, we don't have anything finished by any means yet. Tomorrow it's going to be a whole new bunch of revelations.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, is that he could be in jail for a little while. Maybe I mean, it's a suspended sentence. Joey, what does that really mean, that you don't really do it right now?
I don't think. Right, I think the suspended sentence means you don't have to go to jail, but if something comes up between now and between the time your suspended sentence is up, they would throw you in jail, I believe.
Or if you don't do like the classes or oh, you know, he's not allowed to go to the club she works at. So we know one less bar to try to place ourselves at this weekend in trying to catch a Panther is let's not go to her bar. Like, you know, no Panther gonna be there anymore. And what's this place called? The Bubble. Is it a place called the Bubble or someone called the Bubble? Because I kept seeing the name Bubble in the trial today, and I think it's either a bar or a club. I don't know. So we just got a window into what it's like to be a Carolina Panther NFL star with crazy girls and partying. Let's go ahead and talk about something that I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Oh, man.
Training camp starts on the 25th, 6th. Like, I think Fan Fest is Friday the 25th. I'm going to take the kids down there. Where the whole family is going to Charlotte. We're going to stay for the weekend. And then on Saturday, so they have a free practice. They have a practice. Everybody can go in. Bank of America Stadium. The new boards are up. People have been putting out pictures. The stadium looks sick.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Those boards are like enormous, and they say the sound system is so intense. So we're gonna go get to see that, and then on Saturday I'm gonna also scoot down to Spartanburg and see the first practice in Spartanburg. So first, CarolinaCatChronicles.com. This is by fans for fans. So if you're a fan of the Carolina Panthers and you're out there in your training camp and you see one of these, Voice of Panther Nation, not only can you cop one, but say hello and check out this bag.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking
about. One Voice of Nation. So, yeah, and we're going to hook you up. Don't worry. So, we are, guys, camp. I've been thinking a lot about this. I went through, and so let's just talk about, we'll do it and try to do it in 30 minutes, and we might have to go a little long for a few minutes because of this. August 26th, they go into camp with 90 people.
Right.
So when I see them, when people see them on Friday, July 25th at Bank of America Stadium, there's going to be 90 people involved that can call themselves Carolina Panthers. Over the next month, and it is, to be exact, August 26th, 1 month and 1 day, they cut the roster down to 75. So they slim it up 15 spots.
Right.
And then 4 days later,
53.
Dave Gettleman is going to pull out the cleaver and make some deep cuts. And I've been thinking about this, guys. I'm actually working on a piece right now. I think it's going to be pretty good. It's going to kind of turn into a series. We can look at this roster, and we can know right away certain guys are not going to be on this team. Just as sure as we can know that guys are going to be on this team. So what I want to do, and I've got a spreadsheet up on the website that's going up tomorrow that shows you the roster, that shows you the cuts that we think we're going to be doing. We're going to be working the spreadsheet throughout the couple of weeks. If you look at this, guys, I think we can just look at the components of last year's roster and get a gauge of what this year's roster will have to look like. And let me just give you an example. There were 5 running backs on last year's roster, including Richie Brockle. He was listed as a running back on last year's roster. So 5, and Jonathan Stewart was on the PUP list. So that's 6 total, I guess. But they only took 5, right?
And that's including fullbacks.
Yes, because Richie Brockle and Mike Tolbert were both under that list. So here, I'll read them off to you just so you know the list clear as day and everybody's listening. Last year, when we came out of camp last year, we had D'Angelo Williams, Mike Tolbert, Richie Brockle, Kenyon Barner, and Armand Smith. And Jonathan Stewart was on the PUP list. This year in camp, we've got Kenyon Barner, not number 1, but here, 1. Tyler Gaffney, 2. Darren Reeves, 3. Jonathan Stewart, healthy, 4. D'Angelo Williams, 5. Mike Tolbert, 6. Mike Zordick, 7. And you can throw in Richie Brockle as 8.
Wow.
4 of those guys are not going to be on this team. Or if Richie Brockle is on it, he's kind of a funny character because he's listed. So when you think about that, when you hear that those guys, we took 5 guys in last year, and we've got 8. We know 3 are going to go. Can't you look at that and say, man, you don't got a shot at some of those guys?
Yeah.
I think clearly we are not gonna. I see Varner's gone.
That's crazy.
Varner's gone. There's no doubt.
I can't believe you can say that so almost surely.
Yeah, he was a late round pick, if memory serves.
Yeah.
He's slightly built. Gaffney has no. Remember we were talking. Reeves, I think that's his name, Reeves, the running back from
UAB.
Yeah, UAB. He's got 30 pounds on Varner. Okay, so that he's an NFL running back. Varner's slightly built at 195, and he can't hold on to the ball. And he's had a couple opportunities, he's fumbled, and you can't have turnovers in the NFL. So I think he's gone. I think he's another Joe Adams type experiment gone bad. He was great in college, but he can't cut it in the NFL, so he's gone. I think Mike Zordich is gone, even though
I don't even know who that is. That's the Penn State guy, right?
Right, the number 1 rated fullback coming out of college when he got drafted.
He was doing okay when he got hurt.
Right, he was doing okay, but he got hurt, and now it's just a matter of places to put people, and we just don't have the roster spot for him. So he's going to be gone.
Yeah, Willie, what do you think about that, Willie? Kenyon Barner, Michael Zordick gone in Joey's mind. Darren Reeves on the bubble for sure.
Okay, I think Barner, it depends on his return skills. I think he could find if he comes in and his return skills, because Ginn is gone. So that's a key guy going, a key part of our offense, a part of our team going. Who's going to be our return man? It's going to either be Philly Brown, possibly, maybe Underwood, or Kenyon
Pilaris.
Who?
Kealoha Pilaris, the receiver from Hawaii.
I don't know. I feel you on that. I think he's
going to throw a name out. I know he's done it in the past.
Right, he has done it. He done a good. He did an okay job.
Yeah, he did okay.
But I think if Barner is different from all the backs we have because he also brings you that element in the passing game. Let's see what he can do as a return guy. But it could be made that he's going to be gone. But he is a change of pace back, unlike the rest. Like D'Angelo Williams, who's 31 now.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be, all these decisions are going to be tough, but how sure are we that D'Angelo Williams is going to make the team? I know we want him on a team. We all love him. But
I don't think he's a total NFL 31. And what I'm saying is he split a lot of time in that backfield.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
That's kind of helped him, not take the beating of, like, if Adrian Peterson is turning 31, you're kind of like, man, this guy's toted the rock a lot.
Right.
But D'Angelo split a lot of time, so I think he's not like a banged up 31. He's still a young, feisty 31, I would say. And aren't we paying him a ton of money?
I think we save $2 million on the cap if we were to cut D'Angelo Williams now.
But we would have to pay him. Yeah, we would still have to pay him a good amount, but like it would be dead money, I think.
Right.
It's kind of hard to believe that D'Angelo Williams has been the only healthy back. Mike Tolbert, he's new to the team still, so yes, he's been good, but he hasn't been a feature back by himself for a substantial period of time in Carolina by any means. He's listed as a fullback.
Right.
So it's hard to it's just crazy to believe the guy that's only been the only dependable guy on if seemingly back there would be the one that would go. But when you look at this, people are going to have to go. Is there going to be a place for Tyler Gaffney on this team?
Oh, yeah. He ain't going nowhere.
So you traded for him to move. You moved into the 6, I think, to get him or something like that.
Right.
But, here's my thing about this is, what if that Reeves kid looks better than Tyler Gaffney in camp?
Yeah, I know.
Is that
Stewart is untouchable due to his contract. We cut him. We almost got to pay him enough money, and we could buy another stadium with.
Right. Exactly.
That situation right there. Because what I would like to see, if I was the GM, if I had my way, I would cut both D'Angelo and Jonathan Stewart right now, and my feature back will be Tolbert, and I will have Tolbert as my feature back. Brock will be my fullback. And I'll have Gaffney, and have Reese and Barner battle out for the third back. And that's how exactly I would do it. It'd be cheap, and that's exactly how we need to have done it.
Right, you're right.
Contracts these guys have, we can't do it.
Right.
That's exactly what I would do if I could.
Yeah, I think that they can't cut Jonathan Stewart because they're too used to paying him to sit on the sidelines as it is. So now if you did that, you would just be doing. You would do it. It'd be the same story as last year and the year before. So I think, though, when I look at this, though, guys, give me 4 that are going to be on this squad in August 31st. What 4? Go ahead, Willie.
Okay, Jonathan Stewart, Gaffney, definitely. Tolbert, guaranteed. And I guess D'Angelo.
See, we already know this. So Joey, how do you feel about that?
I could see that. That sounds like a very realistic possibility. I saw some workout tape on Reeves, the kid from UAB, and he is a physical freak. So if he can beat out Gaffney, I say keep him because he's a lot like a Jonathan Stewart 2.0. very, very compactly built, very strong.
Looks like a tree stump running around.
Yeah, right. He's Diesel. He is Diesel, and he's got pretty good speed too. Yeah, I could definitely see those four: Stewart, Williams, Tolbert, and Gaffney. I can see that.
Well, what concerns me about this, and when I look at this, is that you just wonder really how much of a real competition exists at this moment for this. I mean, we have the contracts, we have the investment. So some of the things is you don't want to cut Jonathan Stewart because you can't, because his contract's so huge. Number two, you don't want to really even cut D'Angelo Williams because he's been nothing but your guy forever, and he hasn't really given you any reason. You know what I mean? It's not like out of loyalty. It would just be, I mean, he hasn't done anything necessarily to deserve getting cut. I don't think.
He's actually performed. He's performed.
Yeah. So then, but then you got other guys. You got Gaffney, who's not going to go anywhere just because he's the draft pick this year, and we traded. I don't think he can go anywhere, like Willie's saying. Mike Tolbert's certainly not going there anywhere because he just runs and kills people like Mike Reed every week.
That's right.
And he's good. He's good in face for a big guy. So you got all of these things. You just wonder if Reeves and Zordick and Barner, even if they had a blast ass in camp, could even make the team. And that's going to be tough. But here, I want to pose something. The reason I started with running back is because when we look at that group right there, it's already tough enough when you're looking at age, talent, contract, what you need to do just within that position group. But we have other position groups on this team that are going to require us, that are going to affect other positions.
Yes.
So what I mean by this is there's so much uncertainty surrounding two particular positions, and that is wide receiver, which I don't think it's probably as bad here, but I think the other is offensive tackle. We don't know what we have. So if you really don't know what you have and you don't have a starter, like a guy that is locked in, isn't that the place where a competition is most real? And where a guy could edge, you could have a guy push Nate Chandler could push Byron Bell to the right tackle, take the left tackle for all we know. And I'm just thinking this uncertainty, guys, what I think is we had 10 offensive linemen on the roster last year, and we had Jordan Gross healthy, and we had Ryan Khalil, 2 full seasons from both of them. We don't have Jordan Gross anymore, so we got to replace the guy. We don't know who it's going to be. Does this put pressure? Is this going to cause a guy like a Zordick, like a Reeves, who even if they have a great camp, they're going to be a cut casualty because we got to bring in an extra offensive lineman? What do you guys think about that?
Well, you got special. You got the special. You got what's it called? Special teams. What's it called when you
practice squad.
Specialist.
Practice squad. So you got practice squad. So that's like 15 players, but yeah, other positions, like if you have more than 4 defensive tackles, that will
Joey,
affect.
I think we lost Willie.
No, I'm hearing him. I can hear him.
Okay.
Go ahead, Willie.
When you decide to keep more defensive tackles or stuff like that, that do affect other parts of your roster. You know, that's all come down to the head coach and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. If we have to keep a lot of offensive linemen, it will affect the rest of the roster, definitely. And it would put some of these young guys. That depends, though, man. We don't know. We don't know a lot. Even at running back. I mean, I know Jonathan
Stewart. Take over. I'm losing signal again.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
I can hear you. I can't hear Willie. So you guys you carry on, and I'll just try to interject a little.
Go ahead. We'll finish your thoughts, Willie.
Yeah. That all you only have 53. So whatever way you manage that, it's if you have too many offensive linemen, it's going to affect the roster. If you have a whole lot of defensive linemen, or you carry more than 4 defensive tackles is going to affect the roster. So all that counts. But speaking, I really feel like running back. I know Jonathan Stewart definitely. I assume Tolbert and Gaffney. I can't guarantee a guy like D'Angelo Williams. I know he's a fan. It's the truth. I know he's a fan favorite. But who expected us to let Steve Smith walk? I mean, when you look at it, we didn't have to. You know what I mean?
Right. You're making a good point. I mean, you're making a good argument for it because he's the lesser contract. He's the oldest of the group, I think. He's been productive, but if you got to move somebody to keep a spot for an extra offensive lineman, out of all the core group of running backs, I guess, he seems like the most likely to have to go. And I hate to say that because I like D'Angelo Williams, but I mean, I see the point you're making. I totally see the point. And yes, there are only 53 spots, and you can only cut that up so many ways. No matter which way you cut it, at the end, you're going to have 53 spots. So if you got to keep an extra offensive lineman, if you got to keep an extra receiver, you got to cut a position from somewhere else. It's got to come from somewhere else.
Yeah,
and whether it be defensive line, it can't be linebackers because we're already thin there. We can't get any thinner than we already are there. Defensive backs is definitely going to be one area where we're not carrying 10 DBs like we were last year. We're not going to carry that many. We're better at defensive back this year than we were last year. Yeah. So I guess that's the main position. DBs, there won't be as many, and there's not going to be as many running backs. Those are where you're going to feel the pinch. And I know if you look at the roster breakdown that we have, we got 4 quarterbacks.
Right.
And I know we're not going to go into the season with 4 quarterbacks.
No, you're going to get 2.
Right, I think so too. I think only 2 quarterbacks will be on the team. I don't think Joe Webb is going to be that guy.
No, it's going to be Cam Newton and Derek Anderson.
Right, like it has been. And then maybe
I hate Derek Anderson, man. That dude's sorry. He's just kind of crappy. He blocked me on Twitter, first of all, because I caught my man fighting with fans over his tinted windows. He called a cop a prick on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he ended up blocking me, but he knows the playbook well enough that I think better than any other guy. So I don't think Joe Webb has a chance to. I don't know what you can't say dethrone, declipboard Derek Anderson.
Hey, I mean, you know what? I've seen a couple games of Webb when he played for Minnesota, and I've been dying for Carolina to get a backup that had the same kind of skill set as Cam, so that when, God forbid, Cam goes down or he sits down because we blowing a team out, the offense don't take this drastic change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if Webb performs in training camp?
I would love to see that. In fact, I'm gonna make a Joe Webb T-shirt to wear to training camp just for this. Joe Webb, CarolinaCatChronicles.com is behind you all the way in this, because you know what? I will tell you, I mean, you are right about this, is that if Derek Anderson comes in, it's going to be like going back to Jimmy Clausen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole dynamic changes.
Everything changed.
He can't throw the ball more than 10 yards. I mean, he throws he just doesn't have any velocity on the ball anymore. It doesn't look like he likes being a backup quarterback. In fact, him and Jimmy Clausen are still buddies. So they got like a backup quarterback club. And I would love to see Joe Webb come in because, yeah, I mean, if Cam went down for some reason, even though he is Superman, and it would take kryptonite to do that, Joe Webb at least would just, I mean, you could run enough scheme plays around it where you simplify the offense, and he's athletic enough that I think he'd be okay. He just had the same problems that a lot of quarterbacks coming out of college have, is going through his progressions, getting through his reads.
The speed of the game.
Yeah. That was his big problem, was getting off a receiver and going to the next look when I saw him too. So that would be an interesting thing. But here, guys, I also want to talk about this. Let's jump down to tight end and then finish with wide receiver, because I think the tight end situation is a little bit
murky.
It is, but it's clear cut between, like, I guess, like, DC Jefferson isn't going to be the guy. Mike McNeil is not going to be the guy. There's three guys. Look, this is who's listed as going into camp as a tight end. Richie Brockle, which he was listed as a running back last year. Ed Dixon, DC Jefferson, Mike McNeil, Greg Olson, Brandon Williams. So we got 6 guys, maybe 5. So 2 of those, at the very minimum, 2 are going. But we're only going to bring 3 tight ends in this season. I don't think, and you would hate for them. There is a real shot they only bring 2, but I don't think that. I think that they're going to bring in 3 because Cam connects with tight ends pretty well. They brought in Dixon because he's offensive. Joey, what do you think? Are we gonna go more to 2 tight end sets this season? And if so, or what do you see with the tight end? Who are the guys that are gonna make it? Who are the guys that are on the bubble or just not even got a shot?
Well, I see this happening. I see Olsen, Dixon, and Williams are your 3. Richie Brockle will be on the bubble because he's a special teamer, and he's a pretty good special teamer. And then DC Jefferson, the DC stands for don't count on, and because he won't be on the team.
Yeah, don't count on him.
Right. And then the other guy, Mike McNeil, is that what you said his name was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, these are guys who are just bringing in, hoping to find a diamond in the rough, like they did with Brandon Williams. But they're not going to make the team. Not with the way they've been really working with Brandon Williams. They want him to make this team. He could be the next Julius Thomas or the next Jimmy Graham.
He looks like a comic book character when you see pictures of him. Like, he looks like he's been drawn. He's so big and muscular, and it's crazy. I think everybody, Willie, how about this? Let me ask you about Brandon Williams and just ask, is this one of those things that when we have nothing to talk about that we just love, we find a guy that we love so much that he's this diamond in the rough, he's going to be that one guy like Wes Welker or James Harrison that came and made the team out of nothing? Or is he legitimate, and does he have an opportunity to maybe take Dixon out of the lineup or out of the starting lineup?
We are intrigued with potential because you could never discard it. Like, Steve Smith came in the 3rd round pick, okay? And I was one of those guys when Steve Smith kept talking about he wanted to be a wide receiver. I was like, man, shut up and just return the damn kicks. You know what I mean? I would have never have thought that he would be such an impact and special wide receiver that he is. You know what I mean? A 5'9" guy that could high point a ball. Come on, that don't even make no sense. Brandon Williams has so much potential, you just can't overlook it. You don't know. He's strong enough where he could block, and that's something he had to work on, but he has improved in. And what he gives you as far as his measurables and his speed and everything, the potential is there. I think if Brandon Williams beat out Dixon, I think we keep Mike McNeil. Scheme-wise, I feel like you want to have that one tight end that block. You kind of want to have that one guy that block. And, Olsen, Dixon, Williams, neither one of them specialize in that at all.
No.
But I think if Ed Dixon wins it, I think we keep Brandon Williams. That's how I see the tight end things shaping up. And I think Brandon Williams have that opportunity to be a Josh Reed or a Julius Thomas
Right.
and being that player, man.
Right.
It
He's
would
got
be
the
nice.
talent.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see someone come up as Olsen is on, because Olsen's hitting the slide. He's already talked, he's been real interested in the Jimmy Graham story. If you've watched him and Vernon Davis, both two guys that are getting into their later years of their career, the twilight years, and they were they like that Jimmy Graham contract, giving them, pulling the market up, market value.
Mm-hmm.
And while Olsen is super productive and reliable in so many ways, and there's that one play where he caught that ball that Cam Newton tried to throw through his soul last year.
Mm-hmm.
Tried to throw it through him. He can catch the ball, but my man, I don't think I've ever seen him break a tackle.
I don't see him making that big difference. Like, it's not like, oh man, like in those clutch situations. I mean, that pass he caught, but I never see him really like, oh man, like there's some passes he drop. I'm like, damn, Olsen,
Right.
you know what I mean?
That's true. That's very true. And he doesn't have that breakaway speed. Tony made the comment last season when we were doing the show. He said it looks like he's trying to run in snowshoes.
Yeah.
Because there's no fluidity. He doesn't have any rhythm.
It's terrible. Like, I mean, he'll catch the ball, but you ain't get nothing after that. I mean,
Right.
Not a damn thing. Like, I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday say that he just falls down after he catches the ball. But I would like to see. Yeah, I'd like to see Brandon Williams come up. And what's cool about the Greg Olsen story is that so many of us Panther fans, if you remember it, we wanted to draft Olsen that year.
Yes. I did.
Yeah. And we didn't get him, and he ends up going to Chicago and then coming here. So that was kind of cool. But all right, so let's just say it's Dixon, Olsen, and Williams, and what we need. Let me ask. Is it the reason we're pulling for Williams so much because we know what we have with Olsen, and that's it? Like, you're not going to get any more out of Olsen than you got last year.
Right.
And Dixon is mediocre, it seems. Is that why we like the Brandon Williams guy? Because he just offers us something that could be bigger than what we could have with the other guys?
And you know what? For me, it's watching what Cam did with two tight ends, knowing the mismatch that tight ends bring, especially athletic, fast, vertical type tight ends. That's the intriguing part with the Dixon and Brandon Williams. And to me, Dixon kind of remind me of Olsen, but Brandon Williams is a little different. If he just get the small things down.
Right. The nuances of the game, that's really what he needs to work on, just the nuances. And I know that's what they've been doing with him. They've been focusing on the things he didn't get to pick up by going to the rookie camp and that whole sort of thing. But if he is able to pick that stuff up, he could really be a difference maker in our offense. Big time.
Yeah.
Let's just say this. If we were going to go and hang out with the whole Carolina Panthers team and we had a pickup basketball game, Olsen would be one of the last people that was picked.
Clearly.
Is that, like, I just feel like he would be the guy that was like, all right, Brandon Williams is going to get picked before Olsen. I know he's a basketball player and stuff, but, they'll be like, all right, we'll take Greg. Come on. All right, so let's talk about let's move on to wide receiver. And this has been the biggest discussion with Carolina Panther fans since February. One of the things, though, I think is, I think the Panther fans have been going through therapy when it comes to this discussion. It's been therapeutic because what we're starting to see is it feels like there's starting to be that doom and gloom is settled. And we're like, hey, we can handle it with these guys. we're not going to see a big decline. Kelvin Benjamin is enough to step in and be an impact player, particularly in the red zone. But there's a lot of guys on this squad that are trying to make this team, and they're going to be fighting hard. Joey, last year we left camp with 5 receivers. We had Steve Smith, Brandon LaFell, Ted Ginn Jr., Armani Edwards. I can't believe that still. Dominic Hickson. And now this year when we go to FanFest, this is going to be the list of guys fighting for jobs. Jason Avant, Kelvin Benjamin, Brenton Burson, who's fought several years, Philly Brown, Tony Clemens, Jericho Cotry, Tavares King, Marcus Lucas, Marvin McNutt, Caleb Polares, DeAndre Presley, and Tyquan Underwood. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We can take only half of them at the best case scenario. Best case scenario for these guys is that somehow we take 6 wide receivers out of camp.
Right.
Kelvin Benjamin, we don't need to talk about him, obviously. Jericho Cotry, I think he's a lock to make this team too. But is there a real competition for receiver? And is Tyquan Underwood going to be on this team? Is Tavares King going to be on this team? Willie, answer this to me. How much of a competition is there in camp for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th receivers, or maybe even 4th and 5th?
This competition is huge because I think the only locks that make the roster, to me personally, is Benjamin and Cotry. I don't think it's a lock for Avant, Underwood, King, McNutt, Philly Brown, or any one of those guys. I think they got to really earn their stripes. We don't even know who our number 2 receiver is.
Right, that's for sure.
Or number 1, to be honest.
Man,
I know the plan is to get Benjamin to be a number 1, but we don't even know if he's going to be a number 1. I'm not even 100% sure Cotry is going to be a number 1 or 2, or Avant. I think they might be looking somewhere else. I think they want Cotry and Avant to do what they've been doing, being that slot receiver. I'm not sure if those guys are going to be a number 1 or number 2. This is a big battle, and I don't know how this is going to go. I know earlier last year I was really concerned. I was asking people, who is King and who is McNutt? Not who they are as a person, but how do our team value them? Because if we have value on those guys, we picked them up, it was with the team from week 4 all through. Okay? I said, we like those guys, we're not going to go and sign Nicks, Sidney Rice, or Kenny Britt. Because I feel, why spend money when you feel like you have the answer? And the thing about Gettleman and Rivera is that they are extremely honest. And they've been honest. When we asked them about Smitty, they said it. We didn't accept it.
We didn't even believe it. We didn't believe it. We were like, nah, they're lying. And they have. Like, when you watch their press conferences, you actually learn a lot about, they just open the book up.
Right. That's very true.
They've been real honest. And all this whole offseason, you don't even have to mention King and McNutt, and they will bring up King and McNutt. I'm not saying I know these guys are going to be great. I have no idea. I'm just speaking on what Gettleman and Rivera has said. If those guys come into this camp and they come, I'll be honest with you, I'm intrigued with Benjamin. I liked him coming in. Then people scared me off of him, and then I went and talked to Greg Cosell, and I like him. I liked him again. What he brings, his route running, like I said before, isn't non-existent. It was just inconsistent. He played the Z and the X, and he played the slot in college. He also was good against man and zone. He already have that kind of skill set where he know what to do on cover 2, cover 3, cover 1. He done. Not to the NFL level, but he has done some of that.
Right.
And he came in not thinking he's going to just get over on his size. He's come in hungry, and when a young man coming in like that, he's going to succeed, to my opinion. And if King end up being a number 2 or Tyquan Underwood, that could be dangerous. That's all we really need. But if it's Cotry and Avant, that's cool too. But it's going to be tough to see who makes this 3, 4, and 5 and 6.
Right.
And who's the number 2 and 1 receiver?
Right. Yeah.
Joey, how do you feel about that?
I think it's going to be a great battle. I can't wait for training camp. So I can't wait to go there just so I can see those guys in action. Because, you know, before free agency, people were asking, "Oh, are you going to go after this guy? Are you going to go after this guy?" And they said, you know, I mean, Gettleman said it. A lot of times, the answer you're looking for is on the roster.
And that's what Willie was referring to. With
right.
That, honestly.
Exactly. And so he was specifically talking about McNutt and King because they were on the roster, and you know, those guys have been around football an awful long time. And they've seen a lot of different players, and they must believe that those guys have what it takes. So I can't wait. I cannot wait for that position battle to pan out because those guys are hungry. You know, Tyquan Underwood, he knows this is like his last chance to really set himself up. And Avant, you know, I've heard a lot of good things from people about Avant. So we'll see how that goes.
I think we all want to just like Avant because he's like super Jesus juice dude that everybody loves. Like he has Bible meetings for the team and stuff like that. So you know, he made those one-handed catches and he's got the Jason Avant song.
Oh my God.
So, I know. It's awesome. Joey hates it. I love it. But he can't be a number 2. I think Cotry would be a better number 2 than Avant. I don't think Avant can run the routes anymore. And when I say not run them, I mean he can technically run them. I don't think he has the speed to run the number 2 route.
Right. He's a better.
Yeah, I want to see King on this team, and I don't think Tyquan Underwood is all that he's made out to be. I think he's been around too long, on and off. I think he's too just accustomed to being a bystander. So I'm hoping that Tavares King can make this. But what I want to know is, does a guy like Philly Brown, can he make this team? Is there going to be space for him? Or if Tyquan Underwood makes this team, could a guy like King make it, or do we just go with McNutt because he's the bigger of the two?
I think there's place for Philly Brown because we don't have no return guys, and that's what he did. So he can make it. He just got to show it. I think if it comes down to Tavares King and Underwood, I think Underwood is gone. If it comes down to those two. And another thing, no, I don't want to jump. Well, I'll leave it at that. I think Philly Brown could possibly make the team just because of his return skills.
Yeah, I saw him play at Ohio State, and he's pretty versatile. You know, he can play inside receiver, he can play outside receiver, and he's a return man. And as a team, you know, that versatility is very valuable because you got one guy that can do 3 different things. So that saves you from having to bring another guy on. You know what I'm saying? That he's valuable in that regard. So I could see him making the team, especially if he's really putting his nose to the grindstone. And, you know, like you said, hungry. If he's hungry for it.
When you have a roster like this, where especially at receiver, we have 2 types of players. We have either a guy that's never played at all, in the fact of we've got Benjamin, we've got King and McNutt, Brown. Those are all guys that have never played in the NFL, even though they've been on teams. And then you guys got like Underwood. Then you got the other guys, which is actually like Avant, Cotry, that have just been around forever. When you have that dynamic, is it easier to cut a guy like, say, Pilares, who's been familiar with football, so that when he's off the squad, I mean, he's not going to fall out of the game so much. But if you cut a guy like McNutt, or if you cut a guy like Tavares King, a guy that's never played before, how far out of the loop of football is it going to be harder for them to jump back on the squad if you were to re-sign them? And so what I guess I'm trying to say is do you need to keep a younger guy on the team just so he's in the meetings, so he's on the practice field, seeing what's going on, while a veteran is a little bit easier plug and play?
Yeah, I mean, those points, you keep a veteran. I mean, Rivera said it plain. We brought in Kotri. He didn't say Avant, but we brought in Kotri to help with the development of the young players. I think as far as Polaris, we've seen what he's capable of. I mean, as a return man, he's okay. As a receiver, he's, you know, I think he's gone. You know what I mean? I have big hopes for him too, but I think the competition that Carolina created in a lot of these positions was beautiful. Right. That's what, you know, and I think from there we'll go from there.
All right, Joe, you got anything else you want to say about receivers? Because I just want to ask you guys one last question. And
no, we can move on.
All right, last question is this: Josh Thomas not on this team, right? And so when you're looking at the D-backs, while we said that we think it's more settled this year because you have Deku, you have your safety position, it seems a little more, at least you know who the guys are going to be. It's going to be Deku, it's going to be Harper, and it's going to be Lester, it looks like, as that kind of group. Then you got Godfrey, who's been moved to the nickel cornerback or cornerback. You got Antoine Kaysen, you got Ben Wickery, Sticky Wicky. You know, we have 10 backs on the team. You know, Melvin White seems locked in there. Is Josh Norman going to – I saw a poll on Black and Blue Review. Does Josh Norman does he play more than 7 games this year? So guys like Josh Thomas, Josh Norman, do you think they're going to be a factor on this year's team?
I don't think Josh Thomas will. And Josh Norman, he has the talent. I just don't know that he's been able to put it all together. He's got the talent. He's got the skills. He just, I don't know if he's mentally deficient and doesn't have it in the head. But he's been a disappointment. I mean, when we drafted him, we had these huge high hopes for him. And we got Kaysen coming in. You know he's going to start.
How can you have huge high hopes from a guy from Coastal Carolina in the
because of the
round?
Because of the measurables. Okay. You know, he had the talent. And he was coming in like right after Chris Gamble had retired, or like the year after Chris Gamble had retired. So we knew we needed a defensive back. You know, we got.
That's just desperation. That's just desperation.
It was. And then, but he did show flashes of brilliance. I mean, he
practices well. Like when we go to training camp, he's going to blow it up.
Preseason All-Pro. You know what I'm saying?
He made the preseason Pro Bowl.
Right.
Okay, Willie, what do you think? Do you think Josh Norman? What do you think about him? Is he going to be on the team for the year? Start on the team and go? What's his story? Because he seems to be the guy. Oh, and you got to mention your boy Dockery.
You already know. You already know his name is coming up. All right, just looking. You gotta look at who's in front of him. I look at Kaysen. I think he's a lock for our number 1, right?
Yeah.
I look at Melvin White. Is he a lock for the number 2? I say about an 80% chance. I think honestly, I do feel like if James Dockery been healthy last year, I think James Dockery would have started at number 2 because when he was healthy, we got rid of Drayton Florence, and when he got hurt, we brought back Drayton Florence.
Yep.
He didn't play at all last year, and we brought him back. And our team don't operate like that. Not lately. I think they like James. I like James. He's 6'1", 180-something, 186. He gives you both man, zone. He's smart. You know, he ain't great, but we don't need great when our pass rush could produce 60 sacks. Then you got Charles Godfrey, which I think Godfrey is a safety valve. I think if Thomas Deku's out there messing up, don't be surprised to see Godfrey back at free safety.
I agree with that 100%. I would not be surprised to see Godfrey back, even if Harper is. I mean, I don't know how you would make, because Deku can't play strong safety.
No,
we know that.
Run. Yeah,
and that's where he got blown up last year. I think they asked him to play that a lot, and instead of free safety. I agree with you. I would not be surprised to see Godfrey at least out there in packages like that. What I like, I gotta say, guys, I like Melvin White a lot.
Yeah, no,
maybe he's my Rudy Story, you know, the guy that. But I think we asked so much of him last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we asked him to go cover every number one for every team that we played last year.
Yeah, I mean, we don't run a lot of man, you know,
Right.
so the responsibilities of our corners is slightly different. He don't get beat deep.
Right.
Okay, he's physical when our team
He's
is not
big.
afraid. Yeah, he's big. Our team is not afraid to play young guys, and that's another thing that, you know, you got to always keep in mind, you know, like guys like Trey Boston. You know, I don't have no expectations of Trey Boston at all, but you just never know. You never know. That's what training camp is for. I like Melvin White. I thought he did good. I mean, he had some off and bad, and that's what you expect from any rookie, let alone an undrafted free agent rookie, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you were I mean, if that's what you did in your season as an undrafted rookie free agent, I think you could. I mean, that's about as best you could write it up. If you're going to write a story, like in your diary about what you want to do that year. I mean, he had plays that we were like, oh, come on, but at the same time, it was his first time out there.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is the NFL. Go get him. And I'm worried about Roman Harper. And I know he fits our system well. I think that's what is so good about him. Maybe it's just that New Orleans, everybody is going to get burned in New Orleans on defense. Maybe that's what it is. But I know he'll blow up some cats. But he got burnt a bit. He gets a Saints fan told me he's going to get burned for a big play every game.
Here's the deal. When you go from a 3-4 to a 4-3, it's big. It's a huge difference on the safeties. Just look at who the safeties are for the Saints now. When you go to a 3-4, you have to blitz. And when you blitz, that puts your safeties in coverage situations. That's not what Carolina. We rush our front four. All we're going to ask for Harper is exactly the same thing we asked from Quentin Michael. They pretty much the same player, but Harper is a tad bit better.
He's just better, right?
Be where you need to be. Do what you need to do. We're not going to have Deku and Harper playing safeties. Playing tight ends, covering slot receivers. We know better. We should know better. Okay, we know that's a no-no. We're going to have those guys out there as ball hawks. That's all. That's what our whole secondary philosophy and theme is. Those guys are smart. Those guys are instinctive. Those guys are physical. And they ball hawks. And that's Thomas Deku, with the exception of tackling, and everyone else. And that's what I see from them. We're going to have them in there on early downs. I'm talking about Harper. And then Lester going to come in there if Lester don't win out the job. Don't be surprised.
Right.
You know what I mean? He looked bad that playoff game, but you just never know, man.
And overall, last year, he had a good year.
Yes.
Overall, looking at the big picture, he had a good year.
There is it almost seems like what we did not have last year in the secondary we have this year. And it's not like some player that's going to, be the spotlight guy and shut down half the field. But it almost seems like we've got some depth at DB now. You know, you've got Godfrey who can play both. You brought in Ben Wickeray, who is an automatic guy, they think, in the nickel formation. You got Lester. You got Thomas, who can back up guys or play a lot. So I think that's one thing. Gettleman has worked some strange magic in the secondary. He has done an insanely good job on that, and I think the Ben Wickeray pick was a good pick. I wanted them to go with guys like, I wanted an offensive guy. I wanted Ellington, I think, was around then, or Michael Campanaro. But this is a guy that can come in and play this year. Is not developed. I mean, he is developing, but in our system, they fit well. They drafted for a system, and they went in the free agency for the system. They didn't just pull in names to make a splash.
Right.
So, very wise stuff. All right, let's go ahead and close it up, guys. If you don't got anything else to say, last thoughts on anything. Willie P, Begasu26, tell them what you do, where they can check you out, because you guys got to sub up to my man's YouTube channel.
Yeah, sub up to Catch Chronicles, sub up to Team Boy TV Turbo, sub up to PantherNasty. But I got one thing I want to say about our team. The Drew Brees threw for 5,000 yards in 2012. He threw for 5,000 yards. The team was 7-9. Okay? Last year, Matt Ryan threw for 4,500 yards, and they were 4-12. We could bring up Stafford. Peyton Manning broke damn near every passing record known to man on this planet and other planets.
Mm-hmm.
To teams that ran the ball. Okay, Russell only had 3,300 yards. Kaepernick had less. The point I'm making is stop putting such a high emphasis on passing yards. Look at everything. Don't just look at playing names. Look at scheme. Okay, we are a NFC West team and an NFC South. Most of the teams in the NFC South can't stop the run, so why are you asking about our passing yards or who our wide receiver is? Okay, we run the ball, I think Russell Wilson beat the Saints last year in the playoffs. He only had 103 yards passing. I mean, I think it's too much of an emphasis on our passing yards. I think we have enough on as receivers to win games.
Right.
Our defense, I think people kind of they minimize Cam and that front seven a little. I think they forgot what that defense is. I think they forgot. And if you ask those guys who's our starting corners, they don't even know. They can tell you that your corners ain't good, but they don't even know who they are. None of us know the impact that King McNutt or Taquan Underwood or Ed Dixon or John Ramsdale will have on this offense. Or
Brandon Williams.
Exactly, or Brandon Williams, I think Carolina is, at the very least, we're going to have a winning season. At the very least.
I agree with a lot of that. I've been here. Just think of this: is last year we had Steve Smith. We all love him,
right?
But we had. I mean, we love Steve Smith, and we forgive everything the guy ever did. Punching people in the face, acting rude to people on the radio and stuff. Like, we're just like, oh, that's Steve Smith. We love you. Thank you for being Steve Smith. Sorry we ruined your career in Carolina. We have Brandon LaFell. And we had, what's his name? Ted Ginn. Stonehand Ginn Jr. And I'm sorry, I dislike Ginn more than LaFell. I know everybody hates on LaFell, but the only reason Ginn was any good is because of what he did on special teams. And he caught that one pass against the Patriots game that was good. He almost dropped it. If you look at it, the man almost dropped the damn ball. Is that if that's what we're so sad about, come on.
Ginn dropped every bomb outside of the Giants game, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
He dropped every deep ball outside of the New York Giants game.
Joey said two things last year. He said after he gets past 20 yards, his arms turn into alligator arms. Right?
That's the truth.
And the other thing Joey said is, what should Cam shouldn't have thrown it to him. What should he have done, Joe? Do you remember?
He should have kicked it to him.
If he would have kicked the damn ball to Ginn, he would have caught the mess. Yes. And when you got that kind of speed, you should not. That's the one thing he's supposed to be good at. He stunk at. And so is that it's not where I think our receiving core is going to be maybe not on like as the numbers just better when you look at the names and the reputation and stuff, but their numbers will be better, I think.
No, I think so.
I mean, how can, it's hard. I mean, like our best receiver had like 60 balls.
Right, 64 catches for 745 yards.
Yeah, that was our best, and our best receiver was Olsen. And come on now, I mean, who doesn't run after he catches the ball? So I'm with you, Willie. I think that's why I think this offseason, man, Gettleman, he put us through therapy, and we had it hard at the best time. We had it hard when football doesn't matter to the fan as much, when nothing's going on, when we're just speculating. And now camp comes around, and we're going to see the real deal, and everybody's going to be excited. So, Joe, anything else you want to talk? We need to do a couple of plugs, and then let's get off.
No, I'm good. I think I want to mention the fan spotlight that we've got going on. Cat Chronicles has a fan spotlight going on. Send us a video or send us a picture and explain why you're the biggest Carolina Panthers fan, and you could be eligible for some game tickets and a really nice dinner to a Charlotte area steakhouse.
Yeah, tickets to the home opener.
That's
Two
right.
tickets to see Megatron and that crazy explosive offense, and then you get to see our defense shut them boys down. So that's going to be a fun game. We're going to be at that game, so not only do you get to go there to the game on us, have dinner on us, but maybe we even bump into each other and get to meet up and tailgate together. Also, we also have to plug another thing, the C3 Fantasy Football Challenge, which we have rolled out. We have almost I think we have 30 people in, Joey.
That's
already.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
There's going to be 48 teams, 4 leagues, a Kelvin Benjamin jersey, $300, prizes, T-shirts, stickers. We really did it to it with this. I've been happy with the product. It was a lot of work, and it shows 30 people already, so there's only 18 spots left. Hey, you guys got to get on this because you get the $34 package. You get a 10% donation to breast cancer in the name of D'Angelo Williams' mother, Sandra Hill. You get a C3 T-shirt, and they are sick and they are tight.
Yeah, nah, that's tight.
We worked on the design very hard, and then you get to blast with us all season long and talk junk about everything and draft Cam Newton #1 overall.
And with the $34 package, you get a raffle ticket for a drawing that will be held the night of the pick selection. Is that right?
Yep, selection Saturday.
It is this: an autographed D'Angelo Williams mini helmet.
Nice.
Someone will be getting that night.
So you guys got to check that out, and everybody, make sure CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles, and really check us out every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock for the C3 podcast. We'll have Willie P back on. Check out PantherNasty. He owns the TTC. He brings the intellectual trash talk to him. And, hit our boys up. Team Boy TV Turbo, they got a big show tomorrow night. The guys are getting kicked back off. They have a lot of fun. And I tell you, it gets better. I really don't even watch mainstream media very much anymore. I read, and I watch guys that follow teams real close. So check us all out. And, guys, everybody, no music tonight. We're just cutting it short. I'm just going to hang up, and we'll chat for a second afterwards. Good night, guys.
Stay classy, Panther Nation.